More on Home Office. Published by Sky News. The Home Office has said it is on track to deliver on Labour's pledge to remove more migrants from the UK in its first 6 months in power than during any other 6-month period since 2019. But the number of channel crossings keeps rising. More migrants have been removed from the UK since Labour was elected than in any other 6-month period over the past 5 years, the government has claimed. The Home Office announced today that almost 13,460 people had been removed since Sir Keir Starmer's Labour Party won by a landslide in July. It claimed the government was on track to deliver on its pledge to return more people who do not have a right to stay in the UK halfway through their first year in office than any other 6-month period since 2019. The goal would need to be met by early January. But while Home Secretary Yvette Cooper claims her party had intensified border security measures since being elected, some 21,306 migrants have arrived by small boats since the 5th of July, the day after Labour was voted in. On Thursday alone, there were 609 arrivals, making it the busiest December day for crossings on record. Some 34,880 people have arrived in the UK on small boats so far this year, up 20% on this time last year but down 22% on 2022. Border Security Minister Dame Angela Eagle told Sky News Sunday Morning with Trevor Phillips' program the government is doing several things to smash the gangs, including an agreement with Germany to make people smuggling to the UK a criminal offence, setting up the Border Security Command and meeting the Calais group of countries. But, she said she is not going to say, I can get out a magic wand and wave it and it'll all be okay in 5 months, as she refused to give a timeline for getting the numbers arriving on small boats down. The Conservatives highlighted the number of channel crossings is higher than the same period last year, saying Sir Keir and Ms. Cooper were failing to control our borders and should hang their heads in shame. Ms. Cooper, who visited Rome yesterday for talks with her Italian counterpart on people smuggling, pledged a crackdown on exploitative, illegal working to address the promise of illegal jobs that are used by criminal smuggling gangs to sell spaces in small boats. Why Home Secretary's words in Italy will be watched back home with interest. We don't usually get quite so much information about the Home Secretary's bilateral meetings with any foreign counterparts, but Yvette Cooper was quite public with her visit to Italy on Saturday. She spoke at a political festival hosted by the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni with the central focus on immigration as well as meeting the Italian Interior Minister to discuss ways to tackle criminal gangs through breaking down their illicit finance models. We understand they also discussed driving voluntary returns and working with various delivery partners. It's the 5th European Interior Minister Ms. Cooper has met this week in a flurry of diplomatic meetings, all with the central point of discussions around irregular immigration. It's clear the Home Office is trying to prove it's not only making this issue a priority but that it can deliver on words as well. Pre-election Labour had focused their immigration message around the cost of the now scrapped Rwanda deal and their messaging was centered around smashing the criminal gangs that operated networks shuttling people on small boats across the channel. But in recent weeks there has been a shifting of language. Instead, slogans like securing borders have been injected into the rhetoric. Strong suspicions as to why all this focus on irregular immigration lies with the very real threat from the political right, not the traditional conservative opposition but further along the scale with Reform UK. Last election, Reform came second in 98 seats, showing their growing numbers of support. With Reform hot on their heels, backbench MPs especially in the northeast and in traditional heartlands once called the Red Wall, are becoming increasingly worried about how much and how vigorously Labour should be talking about this issue, so the Home Secretary's words will be watched back home with interest. It's not just voters Labour has to convince on delivering their promises on immigration, but their anxious backbenchers as well. Some of the measures being adopted to crack down on illegal migration include new technologies such as body-worn cameras and fingerprint kits, which will be rolled out next year to more than 1,200 immigration enforcement officers to strengthen evidence that can be collected in raids, the government said. The government also said it launched a new, upstream communications campaign, aimed at debunking lies about job prospects in the UK told by people smuggling gangs to encourage small boat crossings. Ms. Cooper said, illegal working is a blight on our economy. It is deeply exploitative and undercuts those employers who do the right thing and play by the rules. Since the election, We have intensified our efforts to crack down on exploitation and illegal working. The number of operations and arrests are up, and we are on track to meet our target of increasing removals to the highest level for 5 years. Matt Vickers, Shadow Home Office Minister, told Sky News in response to the new figures. These aren't good returns because they're not returning the people who are arriving in the country illegally. These are people who were caught on illegal working raids, which is what we brought in while we, the Conservatives, were in office, might I add. He added the deals with Italy and Albania are just carrying on what we were doing.